Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for September 9th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I am here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 23 live feeds. It was day 64 in the house, and it was a day of prepping, mostly talking about what we're going to do for the double eviction that they do anticipate. They are prepping for that, and they're also talking about all kinds of other things here as we go through the day. So I am here on my own here today. So if you are interested in asking some questions, you can do so toward the end of the podcast. So we'll get into that as well. But let's get into the day here. Let's get right into it. It was day 64 in the house, and we started the day with Claire. Claire is on the block against Xavier. She is still trying to campaign. Of course, she's still trying to make make an attempt here. She is going to be going home, but of course, she's still going to make this effort to stay. Then basically, we're seeing again what the plan for moving into next week will be. But Claire starts the day talking to the cameras. First of all, she apologizes for whispering, which is nice. I appreciate it, Claire. Thank you. She's upset that she's probably going to be leaving, but it does seem like she would have been out in the double anyway. She also runs through every player in the game and what she perceives their motivation to be for being here in the game, which I think is a really valuable tool when you're campaigning here. I appreciated this running through, Big D's here for the money, for the fame, other people are here for like the love of the game. Other people are here for other things. And that can sort of like help her properly motivate people when she's talking to them. Now, of course, she's not 100% correct on all of this because a lot of the people in the game right now are mostly dedicated to taking her out because that is part of their mission. But Big D's going to talk to Kyland. And he lets Kyland, he's been thinking about it, and he realized that he doesn't have any friends on the jury. Kyland's like, well, you got Brittany. It's like, no, I don't have Brittany. Brittany's Oz's friend. He's like, where's my friend? So he's got nobody, Big D. Claire's going to talk to Alyssa and start her pitches here. She makes the pitch to Alyssa. She says, Xavier is really well positioned. He is very difficult. He's going to be very difficult to beat. She says, if Alyssa had stayed on the block, Alyssa was going to go home unanimously. That it was not looking good for Alyssa. And Alyssa's like, really? Are you sure? Like, yeah. It's, the week was made difficult because you won, Alyssa. Do you not see that? Tiffany did not want to have to put me up, but which is why she tried to get you to use the veto on Xavier. But you didn't. I mean, she's telling Alyssa a lot here. I mean, she's, if Alyssa wasn't so convinced that she made this happen, and she was actually listening to what Claire was telling her, she might be able to piece together, wait a minute, if Tiffany wanted me to use the veto on Xavier, and if I'd used the veto on Xavier, she wouldn't have put Claire up on the block. Why is that? Was I really the target this week? Why would that be the case? I don't know, Alyssa. So Alyssa says that she thinks that the reason Tiffany put Claire on the block is because she's got a deal with Kyland. She's a lot closer to Kyland than they may have thought before. And she hopes that look, at the end of the day, I'm sure Tiffany wouldn't have put you up if you didn't have the votes to stay. So, at the very least, I'm going to be giving Xavier a sympathy vote. Just giving him that sympathy vote. Okay. All right. Hannah talks to Alyssa afterwards. Alyssa tells Hannah about the conversation with Claire. They talk about Tiffany versus Kyland going into next week. That it seems like a lot of people will be putting Tiffany and Kyland on the block. Sorry, Alyssa, it's going to be you and Kyland most of the time, or you and Tiffany. And Hannah asks who Alyssa would prefer to go. Alyssa still up in the air in terms of that. Hannah says that personally she wouldn't put Tiffany on the block. Her target would be Kai. Hannah asks Alyssa who Xavier's target would be, and Alyssa says probably Tiffany. I think it's Tiffany. Hannah also asks Alyssa what she would do if she was HOH after putting Tiffany and Kai on the block. What if Tiffany wins the veto? Would you put me on the block? And Alyssa was basically like, no, I don't think so. And Hannah says, well, if you wanted to, you could. Alyssa's like, well, it would hide our alliance, I guess. So yeah, we could make that work. I don't know why Hannah wants this, but I mean, she would be safe as long as Alyssa has no intention of taking her out. With Tiffany's vote and with Oz's vote against Kyland, she would be good as long as Ozza voted Kyland, and as long as Xavier didn't convince Alyssa to take out Hannah, which I don't think he could at this point, especially in the middle of a double eviction. But what are you doing, Hannah? Alyssa also says she thinks that that Tiffany, her votes should be tanked in the jury after this very bad move. That both her and Hannah will have great arguments in the final two based on what they did this week. Oh boy. So Xavier's going to talk to Ozza, and he's of course going to be talking about how he doesn't feel bad at all for Tiffany. That Tiffany had to put Claire up. Good. It's her fault. She's the one that did it to herself. She should never have won this HOH in the first place. Obviously, I dropped like I was supposed to. No accounting for how much easier it is for him to drop, considering that, according to him, the plan was for the thing to happen to him, which is that Alyssa would have stayed. If Alyssa was supposed to go that week, I don't know that he would have felt the same way, Xavier, considering your behavior. Ozza says, okay, but look, I've been thinking this is the most important HOH competition of the entire season for us. We need to win this HOH competition. Everybody needs to be gunning for it. And X says, oh yeah, but not me. No, I'm not going to gun for it. And she's like, I mean, we should though. He's like, nah, but I shouldn't have to put up my person. She's like, okay, I get it. I get why you wouldn't want to win. And Xavier says, yeah, but other people, everybody else needs to gun for it because, what's going to happen is that they're not going to want to gun for it because they're going to want to be able to compete at 6. But that's just selfish. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be gunning for it. The job is not done yet, and they need to get it done. And he says, I'm very curious to see if people will want me to have to sit next to my person after I sat next to my person and somebody else's person this week, which is not fair. And Ozza says, well, I don't want to have to put you up, but you still haven't told me who you would vote out between Tiffany and Kyland if Alyssa won the veto. And until I know that, I can't trust you off the block, essentially. If you were off the block, she asks, would you gun for the veto to make sure that Alyssa doesn't win and break up the cookout? And he says, well, obviously I can't. I can't gun for the veto. I can't not use the veto on my person. And she says, excuse me? No, you have to. You have to gun for this veto. You can't not win this veto. Let Alyssa win the veto, and then we don't make it to 6. That's not cool. And he's like, but okay, yeah, you're right, you're right. Okay, okay. It's like you have to. You need to do this. It's like, yeah, okay, okay. Um, so Xavier now has been called out on his plan to not win the veto, and he might try to win it. He might try to win it. He might also try to sneakily throw it. But he also knows that he might touch the block if he does so. So he has a little bit of incentive to try and win this one. If Ozza is the HOH, he will touch the block, although he does feel comfortable that he would stay. Of course, if other people are HOH, he knows if Hannah wins HOH, he's touching the block. So he may have to win this one. Tiffany's going to talk to Kylan. She wants to have a conversation with him later about Xavier. She says to Kylan, I know that Xavier is a competitor, and I know you want to go to the end with the competitor, and I know you've been probably bonding about that, but like I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about this. And this whole women thing about like women votes in the end. Like, we gotta discuss this. So put a pin in that. Alyssa's going to talk to Kylan. She lets him know that she knows. I know, Kylan. I know everything. I know that you and Tiffany are really close and you have a deal, because otherwise, why didn't she put you up? But look, I'm not looking to target you. I know you've had an opportunity to target me, and you haven't. So and then she goes on to talk about her lack of jury votes, just general campaigning to Kylan, trying to make him feel comfortable before she does come after him. So Xavier talks to Hannah. They've been meaning to have this conversation. Xavier says that he does not trust Tiffany and Kylan. He thinks that they are getting closer. A couple of nights ago, when Hannah was up in the HOH room, blocking things, Tiffany had come down and grabbed Kylan right in front of Xavier, and he's like, what's up with that? Hannah says, well, you definitely can't trust Kai, because both of you must know that if you take the other guy, you're going to lose in the end, because that's an incredibly stupid move. She says she knows that Kai wants a respectable win, but he knows he can't beat Xavier, which means she thinks that Kai is going to want to take Tiffany to the end, because that is a respectable win that he can still win. He does not want to take Hannah, Ozza, or Big D, because that's not respectable. He does not want to bring a Josh. They talk a lot about the Josh situation. Nobody wants a Josh situation. She asks Xavier who he's thinking of targeting. He says probably Kai or Big D. He's lying to her. Maybe Ozza before Big D. Like, I'm not sure. And this is a telltale sign that somebody is lying to you. Like, what are your plans for? Let me just do the math here. Tomorrow night, potentially. I hadn't really thought about it entirely. Let me think. I guess it would be. What am I supposed to say to you? It would be Big D and Kylan. Oh, but wait, no, maybe I'm supposed to want Ozza out before Big D. I can't. Can you just remind me what I'm supposed to lie to you and say? Bad news. She says, look, and he asks her who Tiffany is targeting. She says that she thinks Tiffany's going to target Big D. She says that everybody is going to be tempted to bring Big D to the end, but if anybody does bring Big D to the end, she thinks that Big D would win, because it's a slap in the face to the game to bring Big D to the end. It's a Josh situation. Don't bring Big D to the end and give him the win like that. People would just vote for him because of what a slap in the face it is to the game that he even got that far. So clearly this is Hannah trying to influence Xavier into not bringing Kylan, because if you bring Kylan, that's dumb. People will vote for Kylan. Don't bring Big D, because if you bring Big D, that's dumb. People will vote for that's a slap in the face. People will vote for Big D. And so she's attempting something here, and she's obviously lying to him. They're both lying to each other in this conversation. It's really fascinating because the last time they had like a real one-on-one conversation about strategy, they were like locked in together. Then Hannah started thinking she wanted to target Xavier, and then Xavier started feeling like Hannah was siding with Tiffany, and now they're just full on lying to each other. So Kyland is going to talk to Azza, and he actually does a pretty decent job here. He talks about how, he says, look, I know you're not going to take me to the final two. I know I'm not going to pretend like I'm going to take you to the final two. We have not built that foundation for us to have that kind of conversation. However, if you are under the impression that I'm targeting you, that is incorrect. I do not plan on targeting you. In fact, I would love to work with you to get down toward the end. We're both close to Big D. And I'm not going to say necessarily like that, like 100%, let's go to the final three, you and Big D and myself. But at the very least, I think, I don't intend to target you at 6 or at 5. I would love to get to 4 with you, maybe even further. And she comes away from this conversation feeling better about Kyland. She feels better about Kyland, better about her position overall. She talks to the cameras afterwards and she says, I think I'm in a good position. I feel like nobody's coming for me. Maybe I am in a terrible position, but I feel like nobody's coming for me. I've got this thing with Kyland now. I don't try. It hasn't changed anything with Kyland, but if it's true that he's not coming for me, then he's not coming for me. He is coming for her. Then I don't have to worry about Kyland. I've got this final 3 with Xavier and Big D. And I do trust Tiffany and Hannah. I don't think they're coming for me. So I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot to maybe I can do okay here. She says that her number 1 is Big D. Number 2 is Xavier. But she also does love Tiffany, and Hannah's grown on her. She does like Hannah a lot. She says there is no way she's going to touch Tiffany in the double eviction. She is not going to put Tiffany on the block. That is just not what she's going to do. She says when she came into the game, she really thought that Tiffany was going to be her person. And then, things happened. And she kind of blames herself for the relationship with Tiffany not working out as well as it did. But the reason, she's picking Xavier over Tiffany is that she feels like when she's approached both of them with working together to the final 3 way back when, and she feels like Tiffany was not receptive and Xavier was. There you go. It's not just because he's handsome and really attractive and I like him a lot. It's that he lied to me and said he would be down for a final 3 because what he actually told Big D is like, sorry, Azza, spots filled. Tiffany's going to talk to Azza, and she's going to try to get Azza to be looking at Xavier a little more critically. Because Xavier is dangerous in this game, Azza. She says, he is going to win this thing. If you want $750,000, you can't have him anywhere near the end. And she says, if he is somebody that you can beat Kyland in the end. Kyland doesn't have jury votes like Xavier has jury votes. And Azza says, yeah, the thing though for me is that I care about the mission, and I feel like Xavier cares about the mission. I feel like you care about the mission. I feel like there's one person in this alliance that doesn't care about the mission, and that's Kyland. And so for me, if I take Kyland out, I feel good about everybody else. And that's my goal. And Tiffany's like, I mean, let me tell you, Azza, she says, I am all about I have put everything aside for the cookout. I just put up Claire this week. What more can I do this week to prove my loyalty to the cookout. Do you think Xavier would have done the same thing? Do you think Xavier's willing to win HOH and put up Alyssa? I don't think so. I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't think so either. I'm sure in her head, she's like, I literally just had a conversation with him where he's like, I refuse to win this HOH and put up Alyssa. And he proposed that he wanted to throw the veto as well. And she's going to talk to Big D later about that, how that rubbed her the wrong way. And she says, okay, yeah, I see that. I see that. But it's not going to change her mind about Kyland. She still wants Kyland out first. So Oz is going to talk to Claire as well. Claire is going to try very hard to convince Ozza that, hey, this is your opportunity to make a move. You can't win with Xavier in the game, so on and so forth. The same kinds of pitches that we've been hearing a lot. Ozza doesn't really give her much. Afterwards, Claire talks to Tiffany and says, I just want to shake Ozza and be like, play the game. You're playing a game for almost $1 million. Like, what are you doing? Xavier's going to talk to Tiffany and tell her that he's not mad about this week at all. You know, he was mad for like a day and then he got over it. He's more mature than that. He would never hold a grudge about something so silly. So don't worry about that. He's cool with her and everything's good. And afterwards, Tiffany says to the cameras, I don't trust this man. He seems very trustworthy, though. You know what? It doesn't matter if I trust this man, because it maybe he is telling the truth. Maybe he is. But it doesn't matter. He's a threat to win this game, and he doesn't need me in this game, and that means he needs to go. He is too dangerous. So that's a no-go, Xavier. She talks to Claire again. And Claire had just finished talking to Kyland, who, gave her the Kyland. Just long, drawn out, no, I'm not voting for you to stay. Poor Claire had to sit through a Kyland here on her last night in the house. But Claire is kind of feeling like, okay, Hail Mary time. I can call somebody out, make somebody my enemy. I mean, let me just say, I love everything Claire is doing as a nominee. I mean, obviously she has zero chance to stay in this game, but she is running through very effective campaign strategies to stay. And I do think that if there were any chance that she could stay, she would have had a good chance. She is doing some very effective work through multiple different avenues, and her last chance is essentially like pull a Godfrey, like just call somebody out and make them her enemy, and keep me. Don't keep this person. Tiffany kind of says, who could you even do that to right now, though? And they run through options, and Tiffany kind of leads her toward, what if you just called out Xavier? What if you just said that Xavier is going to win? What if you really double down on this Xavier is going to win this game thing? Tiffany is trying to also lightly, let Claire know, like, it's not going to work. Like, this is not something that is going to save your game, but maybe this is something that you can do. You'll go out with a bang. So Claire is down, and they talk through options of like what she could maybe say in her eviction speech about Xavier. How, like, okay, look, if you leave this man in this house, if you let him get to the end, I don't care how it happens. If Xavier is in the final two, I'm voting for him, and I'm going to do everything in my power to convince the rest of the jury to vote for him. She is going all in on do not go to the end with this man or you will lose. And quite frankly, if anybody goes to the end with Xavier after a speech like that, they then deserve to lose. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So there you go. That's sort of sort of the plan. We'll see if it sticks. We'll see if it ends up happening. But that's going down there. Kylan's going to talk to Tiffany, and they talk about the HOH, the upcoming HOH. Kylan explains that he doesn't want to have to win, but he will if Alyssa is still in it. Tiffany says, "I mean, I would prefer for you to not win if possible. Obviously, I not if Alyssa's going to win." But she wants him to be able to play at 6 because she knows that she is Xavier's first target. And he says, why do you think he's targeting you now instead of me? Because she's been telling him that Xavier's coming for him. And she says, look, I think that Xavier knows that he wins hands down, sitting next to anybody in this game. But she says, the person he probably has the most trouble winning against is me. And he wanted you out, Kylan, for personal reasons. But after this week, she says she thinks he'll be smart and take her out first. She says that essentially that's the idea here. And I really like how she's approaching this. She has listened to Kylan when he says he wants to go to the end with a competitor. And she's trying to she's trying to use that angle. She's trying to say Xavier is only coming for me because he's scared to sit next to me in the end. He knows that he can beat anybody else. I am his biggest threat in the end. I am the biggest competitor, at least next to Xavier. And so he does not, she's essentially saying if he targets me, he does not share your common goal of getting to the end with the best competitor. And she, while also reminding him that he can't beat Xavier, but that she is also a big competitor, somebody worth taking to the end. And she's also reminding him that the reasons Xavier, at least from her perspective, that Xavier would have come after him were personal reasons, not necessarily game reasons. He was frustrated with Kylan. Very true. So will it work? Probably not. I mean, Kylan is very stubborn, but I do like the approach here. It's a much better approach than the one that she was trying to take before. She says, I don't feel comfortable with anyone in this house. He's like, what do you mean? It's like, I just, you can't trust anybody. How? Can't trust anybody. What about me? I just don't get why you would say that. I thought we were having like a good conversation, and then like, when you say that, like, what's going on? Oh my God. She says, look, I trust you. I trust you. I trust Chada. That's it in this house. All right. I didn't mean anything by it. And so they have a whole conversation about that. And yeah, he says that he trusts that she needs him in the game. That's how he trusts her. But she tries to move the conversation back to Xavier. She talks through, again, more stuff about Xavier, more stuff about why Kylan, essentially should not want to go to the end with Xavier. They eventually cut away from this conversation for an Azza and Big D conversation, which we will talk about as well. Tiffany is also going to be talking about Xavier throughout the night. She noticed that he's been pacing a lot. And she recognizes that he paces when he's feeling nervous and uncomfortable. And Xavier does pace. It's a good call. She also, though, and this has upset some people. She, in the course of speculating about Xavier and his occupation and his age, did I believe bring up the idea that there's a gap in his story, and that maybe he went to prison or something, and then that's why he's so sort of like regimented at this point, which does not seem like a particularly cool thing to speculate about, especially about Xavier as a black man. Tiffany has, I think, definitely gone overboard, both in the past and here when it comes to speculating about people's personal lives and things. So, not great. Not great. Ozza does have a conversation with Big D, though. And she asks if Big D thinks Xavier. She's asking if she thinks if Big D thinks Xavier has any other deals with anybody else in the house. And Big D's like, no, what? No. Why would you think that? He doesn't have any deals. I mean, just with Alyssa. I'm sure just with Alyssa. And she says, yeah, okay, all right. I just feel like, I feel like a hypocrite. I feel like a hypocrite. I came into this game feeling like I wanted to take out the alpha males. And now I feel like my most feasible path to the end is with the guys. And that's, I don't like that. She says that she thinks that she might have to put Xavier on the block if Alyssa wins the veto. That even though she is, she's down with the guys, she will probably have to put Xavier on the block if Alyssa, because what she's going to do if she wins in the double, she's going to put up Alyssa and Kyland. If Alyssa wins the veto, she's going to have to put Xavier on the block. And Big D says, well, I guess I have to pray that you won't win the HOH then. Excuse me? Why is that? Because that will mess everything up. That would it would mess everything up. Why? You would vote to keep him. Alyssa would vote to keep him. I would break the tie. Yeah, okay. Okay. She says, look, Big D, I'm not putting a black woman up on my first HOH. It's just not happening. I'm not putting Tiffany on the block. He's like, oh. Kyland ends up coming in and talking to them, just further trying to convince Ozza that he is not coming for her, and that he talks about what he might do as HOH. He talks again about like how he would like to not put Alyssa up initially, to backdoor her, so to speak. But he doesn't want to piss anybody off. So, he's talking about that, and running through different scenarios. But, ultimately, again, just kind of like, it won't be you, Ozza. It won't be you. Don't worry about that. And Ozza's like, man, this was much easier when I thought you were coming for me. And he's like, oh man, I'm sorry. As they continue through the night, not many other super important game conversations. Hannah's going to talk to Ozza late into the night. She talks to Claire late into the night as well. Talking to Ozza as well, though, about mostly about Xavier again. Who Xavier is, how old he is. Talking a lot about like Ozza was convinced that Xavier wasn't military because he doesn't make his bed. But then Hannah was like, but maybe he's not making his bed on purpose to throw us off. She's like, oh, I hadn't even thought of that. I thought I had it all figured out, but now that makes a lot of sense. Oh, boy. And that's pretty much the day here. So basically looking toward this double eviction, if Ozza wins, she's putting up Kyland and Alyssa. If Alyssa wins the veto, she's putting up Xavier. Kyland is going home. If Alyssa wins this HOH, it's Kyland and Tiffany. If the nominations stay the same, then that's where things get a little tricky. Azza and Hannah would vote out Kyland. Big D and Xavier would likely vote out Tiffany. And it would come down to Alyssa's tiebreaker vote. And, you know, it's not entirely clear what she would do. We talked about this yesterday. So could be Kyland, could be Tiffany. If Hannah wins the HOH, she is going to put up Xavier and Alyssa, despite what Xavier wants. If Alyssa wins the veto, she would probably be putting up Big D. And Big D would likely stay, and Xavier would likely go home there. With Azza voting out Xavier, with Tiffany voting out Xavier, and then Hannah breaking the tie to take out Xavier. Not a guarantee. It's possible that Hannah decides Big D should go there instead, but likely would be Xavier. If Kyland wins the HOH, he really could do anything. He could do Alyssa and Azza. He could do Alyssa and Xavier. He could do Alyssa and Hannah, or he could do Hannah and Azza, or Xavier and Hannah, or all kinds of different things. But basically his target would be Alyssa. If Alyssa won the veto, I do think he would try to take Azza out. Maybe he would take the shot at Hannah. He has been working on Azza, so it is possible that he takes that shot at Hannah. It would probably be Azza and Hannah on the block at the end of the nomination cycle. With those two up, Xavier and Big D would vote out. Would probably vote out Hannah, and then Tiffany and Alyssa would probably vote out Azza, and then it would come down to, again, what Kyland wants there. So there's that. If Big D won, he would put up Tiffany and Alyssa. If Alyssa wins the veto, he would put up Hannah, and then they would vote Tiffany out. If Xavier won, accidentally, he would likely, he probably would want to he might do the Kyland backdoor plan at that point, and maybe not put Alyssa up until the replacement nomination. But he hasn't really thought about it because he fully intends to throw it. So I believe that's everyone. So a few different, and obviously with Xavier, if Alyssa won the veto, Tiffany would go home. It would be, again, likely Tiffany and Hannah on the block together, and Tiffany would go home. So, some interesting scenarios here. Big D, probably the safest person, probably. But even then, there is a scenario where he could maybe go home. Then you have, Xavier and Hannah, who are also pretty safe. Azza, who is mostly safe. Then Kyland, who's in a bit of danger. Tiffany, who's in a bit more danger, and then of course Alyssa, who is going home unless she wins a competition. So obviously the double will be very straightforward if Alyssa doesn't win either the HOH or the veto, but if she does, things would get pretty tricky. Honestly, I guess if we're gonna want a tricky week, it should probably be next week when it's a whole week, then in the double, and then a very straightforward take out Alyssa week the following one. But that's what we've got here. That's what we've got. Any questions? Questions here for me as we wrap up this update. The update before the double eviction. Always, running through scenarios. We've got so much to talk through. It's always a fun one. How many seasons has Big Brother done the miniature competition? This is the second season, I believe. It started last season in the All-Star season. Did I say if Alyssa wins HOH? Yes, that she would put up Kyland and Tiffany. Did Xavier stop complaining? No, no, he didn't. But it is definitely a lot slowed down. Is holding the best strategy for the stock watch this week? Well, tune in, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. I will be live later today, and I will talk through stock watch strategies and all kinds of other, scenarios to run through. Did Tiffany mess up by setting Claire up with this anti-ex eviction speech? Not necessarily. I mean, I don't see how it messes her up. I think that, any further, campaigning against Xavier makes sense from Claire's part. And it, of course, it can only help at this point. Let's see. If Tiffany goes home, would Xavier find a new target to complain about? I'm sure he would move on to like Kylan or something. When do they play in the final 6 HOH? Is it during the episode or later in the week? So they're going to they're going to evict Claire. They're going to have the HOH, veto, eviction, and then they are going to end the episode after the eviction. They will likely not even start the next HOH on the episode. We'll then see the HOH competition on the Sunday night episode of Big Brother 23. Would I give Xavier the vote in the final 2 chairs if he was with Alyssa? Yeah, I would. I mean, I think that Alyssa is probably going to end up being an underrated player, but in this game, I mean, you can't give her the vote. Let's see. Do I believe Xavier is going to throw this HOH to Alyssa? I think he will throw this HOH, period. Whether it's to Alyssa or anyone else, I don't think he will care. He's gotten the okay that he can throw this HOH, and I think he will, even if Alyssa's winning. Let's see. Would lockdown be a good? Would lockdown be an ideal time to reveal the cookout to Claire and Alyssa? They've talked about what they're going to do if they should reveal the cookout in the goodbye messages. Xavier does not want to reveal the cookout to Alyssa until post veto or post her having any kind of potential to stay in the game, essentially. That only once she can't turn on him because of it will he reveal the cookout to her. So they will not reveal it in the lockdown period. Let's see. Will Tiffany out the cookout if Alyssa wins HOH to get Xavier on the block with her? I think that if it was a full week, she would, but I don't know that she'll have the time to think of it and execute it in the middle of a double eviction. Because even if she did, I don't think it works. I don't think it gives Alyssa enough time to process before she makes the noms and makes the replacement noms. She's not just gonna like nominate Xavier on this information that she can't even like fully confirm. And I think Tiffany probably knows that as well, which is why she might not even try or even think of it. All right. I think that's it here. Do I think the real reason Xavier wants Tiffany out is because he knows he can't win against her, and his whining antics are to give others the reason to send her out? I would love it if that were the case, but nothing that we have seen either on the feeds or in the diary rooms have indicated that that is the case. He's saying in the diary rooms that he's pissed off at her and he just wants to sabotage her. And he's actually said the opposite. He feels like she has no chance to win this game after the decision that she's made, but he still wants her out anyway. So that appears to be the case here. All right. That's what I've got for you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out here on today's live feed update. I will be live later today, again, on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, to talk about the stock watch, and really just run through more scenarios of what could happen in the double, what could happen after the double. It's always a fun time there. And then I will also be live during the double eviction tonight, watching with you guys on Twitch. So I will be reacting live as we watch. It's always a fun time, especially on these double evictions. So make sure you come and join us. And then after the double eviction, of course, we will be live to recap what goes down tonight on this, momentous occasion. So check all of that out. I will, of course, be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 23 live feeds. Thank you once again for joining me, and I will see all of you next time.